Hello. I haven't done one of these in a while. Could do a big lengthy update. Not gonna do that. We'll say it's fucking hot though. Hate summer. I hate heat. Hate radiation. Face is a bit red because I gave myself a chemical burn. Yeah, what is this video about? I don't know. Almost finished my book. Ugh. Well, I finished the writing part of the book, and then I need to edit, which I expect I'm underappreciating how long that's going to take, but whatever. What I really wanted to talk about was finally starting to drift. Finally starting to drift. Now, I want to say it's a recent thing, but it's not. It's been in the works for a very long time. And I was wondering if I would ever reach it. Because you reach moments in your life and you think, maybe not. And when I say drift, I mean, what do I mean? It's a feeling. I have a feeling. How would I describe this feeling? It's almost like a detachment. I've always had a detachment of sorts, but it's always been forced by my own hand. In the interest of security, safety. People are dangerous. People hurt you. And I realize, I'm not ignorant to the fact that a lot of that is attachment problems, right? Abandoned by parents, therefore, you develop these particular attributes. But this is something different. This is like almost like a detachment from humanity. The kind of things that I was scared of before, and not so scared of now, if at all. My path to me is very clear. I've got a select few things that I want to do with my time here on planet Earth, and then everything else is either just like a bonus or just whatever. I just don't care, you know? I mean, for example, I've just completely, it's not even like swearing off women and relationships, anything like that. It's that I just don't care anymore. Like, I just don't give a fuck. I don't care what you're doing with your job or your life. I truly don't. I don't even want to pretend that I care. Because I don't. I don't want your drama. I don't want whatever you think is going on with you that's so important that you need to share with me. Don't. Because I don't give a fuck. I truly don't. There was a time when sort of empath. Ow, I've pulled something in my back, so everything's very painful. There was a time when the empath, which used to be my dominant kind of personality, would take issue with boundaries and trying to pace oneself and feeling bad about pushing people away and so on. But I don't really care anymore, you know? I just don't give a fuck. And it's been a long, long, long path to get here, to this point. And I would want to say it was one singular thing, but it wasn't. It was several. My family blowing out has been like a real two things, two main things. Maybe three. Yeah, three. We'll go with three. One, my family blowing up, and basically disowning me. These people that I've cared for all of my life. Um, you find out very quickly how much you're worth to people when money and grief and death are on the line. It doesn't matter how much you care for somebody up until that point because they'll find a way to hate you, you know? There's that. Another factor that's really prominent in my mind lately are people that I considered my friends are not. They're not. And I was kidding myself for the longest time, you know. You tell yourself, I've always been vulnerable to the idea of fate and fated lives and star-crossed people, you know. I think I do still think and believe that it's very difficult to find people that fly the same flags as you do, especially when you're somebody like me with a very specific and particular skill set and desires and disposition and everything. Um, and I was telling myself that, you know, these are friends that I will have for life. It doesn't matter that we're not in contact. That's just kind of the way that we are. You know, we're cowboys. We're people that get together a few times a year, maybe, and have a quick chat and catch up. But I've realized in the past 3 years, since all this trouble in my life, and this year, that that's not true. It's not that it's star-crossed. It's not that it was meant to be. It's that I was making it something more than it is. That became particularly evident when I actually needed somebody in my life to talk to, you know? And you kind of hold on and you hold on. You get an email like after 6 months and you're like, all right, maybe we're going to have a chat now, right? And you set things up, have a nice call or something with somebody, and they just like don't show up or something or make excuses and just kind of makes you feel like a piece of shit. Makes you recognize very quickly how much you're valued by this person, which is not at all. Um, and you're reminded of this often because you know you talk about life stuff, important life stuff, big things, and you don't get a fucking response at all. You know, I mean, for example, I was talking to somebody that I would consider my best friend or one of a few, um, whom I hadn't spoken to in a long time, you know, and you talk about these things that require prompting and intrigue and inquire. You know, if you were a normal person, you would just, you know, if you cared about this person, you would inquire more. But it didn't happen. In fact, all conversations cease whatsoever, you know. And I thought to myself, why, why did that happen? Why did it go that way? And the answer is obvious, and the answer's always been obvious. It's just I was too stupid and lonely and vulnerable, I guess, to really accept it. However, that has changed now because I've started to drift. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing was that awful. I was dating a girl for a while. And I thought it was going really well, you know. I was like, wow, all right. I'm into this. This is good. And you fool yourself. And she fooled me into fooling myself more to get invested, right? But she was a love rat. And I, looking back, I could see that she was a love rat, but up until that point in my life, I had prided myself in being very slow and being very wary, defensive, good defense, but she just got in. It was a curious time in my life because I lost a family member that was a big deal to me. So it makes sense to me now how I let that happen. But at the time, it was brutal. Brutal. I couldn't believe it. Just fucking chucked me out like the trash, you know, after everything was going so well. It was so odd to me. It's still very odd, and it speaks more to her as a person than me. But it was a true eye opener, particularly to women in my sort of age bracket of 30s and 40s. You know, and then you think about women in their 20s too, and they're all like, that's just it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't need sex. I don't need anything like that. It's like I am perfectly happy being by myself. I don't really need intimacy. Sure, it would be nice, but it's not worth everything, all the strings attached to it, you know what I mean? Um I'm at a point now in my life where I absolutely totally get like I mean, I'm not a businessman or anything, but this is the kind of demographic that I would associate, you know, where you just don't have the time, you just don't have the energy to play the game, you know, to be this other person for another person, you know, and to put a whole lot of effort into that with great risk. You know, I would pay just to have the intimacy aspect if I had that kind of liquidity. um I would just pay an escort, man. I just would, like, fucking not worth the time, not worth it. You know, I got things I want to do in my life. I don't need anything else, you know. So there's those three things really. uh it you know, it makes me think of TV show True Detective, the main character in that, Rust. You know, not that I would particularly associate with a lot of the aspects of the characters in that show. One quote comes to mind, and it's, you know, I used to lay in bed and think about women. You know, so did I, and that's certainly not the case anymore. Just not in my world anymore. Um, I've had an extended period of isolation now, where I've really started to think about who I am and where I am and my behavior, the things that I want in life. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm already doing all the things that I want in life, and I should work towards a bit more money in my life so I can do a couple more things that I want to do. But after that, I just I just don't have, like, people tell you to, oh, you need to go socialize and you need to join groups and meet people and maybe you'll meet a girl and all this shit. I I don't need that. Not anymore. I've very much this is what I mean by drifting. I've given up on this life in a good way. You know, a positive way. I mean, it's a negative concept, but it's a positive effect. You know, I feel very free and very liberated to do the things that I want to do because my life is short and limited, or will be. Um, and as long as I can do and create the things that I want to create, then everything else is just distraction, really. Friends and I've noticed sort of when I've been back and after my marriage and sort of been here working on the things that I'm working on, improving my skills and developing ideas and so on, planning. I've sort of been perusing, friendship circles and stuff online, and I've realized that people's idea of friendship and so on in teenage years and 20s is very different to people in their 30s and 40s. People seem to develop this very pragmatic detachment as well in their 30s and 40s, and that's not the kind of relationship that I would want. The kind of person you see once a year or something. What's the fucking point? You know, just seems so weak. So I've started to drift. I don't know what sort of form this will take, but I'm comfortable with it. I feel confident, feel self assured, very happy with the things that I'm making at the moment. The only thing that I need to improve on is um, having more liquidity, become a bit more affluent, um, so that I truly don't need anybody, and I can fuel my own creations, um, instead of just bleeding money all the time, which is what I'm doing at the moment. I've run out of kind of my usual avenues of making money are a little bit fucked at the moment, so I have to rethink that. But yeah, drifting. I've started to drift in a just away from people. It's the sort of thing where if you were to drop me off in a very isolated place, I'd be absolutely okay with that. I used to say I would be okay with that, and there are a lot of people that would say that they're okay with it, but I think after a period of time, you would start to turn away from that, start to lament the things that you're missing, social wise, and so on. And I understand that we are social creatures and whatever. Um, but something has changed quite drastically inside me that I just don't need it anymore. And I don't feel compelled to please people anymore. It's not to say that I'm a complete cold asshole or anything, If you're having a bad time, I'm probably a good person to talk to because I will listen. Probably won't give you advice, but I'm happy to listen. Um, but I don't need anything past that. You know what I mean? I suppose I would probably make a good therapist in this sort of state that I'm in if it lasts. Happy to listen to your dramas and so on, but um, in terms of friendships and more intimate relationships, I don't need them. I don't need to join any groups or anything. I don't need family anymore. Not that I have any left, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, interesting, interesting times. Today I had a productive day. Wrote a lot. Still haven't finished my book, but I'm on the last 2 or 3 chapters, maybe. Um, and then I have another idea for a book after that, but I don't know if I'm going to jump straight into that, or if I'm going to. I have an idea to solve my money problems, but it's going to require study and doing a certificate of some sort online, um, which I'm perfectly willing to do. But obviously, that requires I have to manage my finances quite carefully. Uh, and I had a good dinner, cleaned my bathroom and everything today. So, and my bed, laundry, so things are clean, nice, sterile. I have food for the meantime. And that's good. And then tomorrow, library. That's great. Nobody bothers me there. Um, yeah, drifting, 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 drifting away.